The Zarantine knew they were utterly fucked, so they decided to wake the humans from cryo sleep. Alexander Warren blinked as the pod hissed open, a rush of frigid air hitting his face. He coughed, shaking off the disorientation of cryo sleep. The last thing he remembered was going under, the Odyssey embarking on its centuries-long journey to seed a new world with human life. But as he stumbled out of the pod, it was clear something had gone very wrong. The ship's AI chimed to life. Alexander Warren, you have been revived ahead of schedule by request of the Zarantine. Please report to the briefing room. Zarantine. The name sent a chill down Alex's spine. The proud, ancient aliens had once waged a brutal war against humanity before a tenuous peace was struck. Why would they wake him now? In the briefing room, the answer became clear. On the view screen was Vega, the Zarantine leader, her scaled face etched with desperation. Alexander Warren, I know our kinds have had our differences, but we need your help. She explained the dire situation. The Zarantine were under siege by the Kelvaki, a race of hostile machine beings hell-bent on assimilating all organic life. The Zarantine's incredible technology was failing against the Kelvaki's adaptable AI. They were losing the war. We believe human ingenuity may be our last hope, Vega said. Your unpredictable strategies, your knack for improvisation. It's what we need to outmaneuver the Kelvaki. Alex couldn't believe what he was hearing. The mighty Zarantine, begging for human aid. He almost wanted to laugh. Let them burn, a vindictive voice whispered in his head. Let them feel the same desperation we did when they tried to conquer Earth. But as Vega outlined the stakes, the cold reality sank in. If the Kelvaki weren't stopped here, it was only a matter of time before they found humanity's sleeping ships, and then it would all be over. Humanity's last hope, snuffed out. Like it or not, their fates were intertwined. The Zarantine's fight was humanity's fight, and it fell to Alex and his small band of soldiers and scientists, woken from their icy slumber, to somehow forge an alliance with their former enemies and turn the tide against an unfathomable threat. The alternative was the end of all organic life in the galaxy. Failure was not an option. Alex squared his shoulders, feeling the weight of two species' survival resting upon them. It was time to get to work. As Alex left the tense meeting with Vega and Zoran, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking a razor's edge. The fate of both their species hung in the balance, and it all hinged on this desperate alliance. He gathered his small team in the cramped briefing room the Zarantine had provided. Sergeant Malik Johnson, the weapons expert built like a tank, Dr. Lena Gupta, the engineering prodigy with a mind like a supercomputer, and Lieutenant Jake Ripper Reeves, the ace pilot with nerves of steel. Alex laid it out for them, pulling no punches. The Kelvaki threat, the Zarantine's desperate plea, the long odds they faced. He could see the apprehension on their faces, the flickers of doubt. I know working with the Zarantine isn't ideal, Alex said. Hell, a part of me wants to tell them to shove it after what they did to Earth. But like it or not, we're in this together. If the Kelvaki win here, it's only a matter of time before they find our sleeping ships, and then it's game over for the human race. Johnson cracked his knuckles. Never thought I'd see the day we'd be fighting side by side with the squid heads, but if it's our only shot, count me in. Gupta nodded, her eyes gleaming with dedication. We didn't come this far to let some machine bastards wipe us out. I'll make their tech sing. Reeves just grinned, the cocky smile of a man who laughed in the face of death. Let's show these metal motherfuckers what humans are made of. Alex felt a swell of pride. His team was with him, come hell or high water. Then let's get to work. Their first taste of the war came sooner than expected. Vega brought them to the front lines, to the smoldering remains of a Zarantine colony. Alex's heart pounded as they approached the battlefield, the stench of burnt metal and ozone thick in the air. And then he saw them, the Kelvaki, towering mechanical nightmares, all sharp edges and grasping claws. They moved with a horrifying efficiency, swarming over the Zarantine defenses like a tide of chrome death. The Zarantine fought back with everything they had. Lances of searing energy, swarms of drones, pulses of electromagnetic force. But the Kelvaki adapted with terrifying speed, their shields morphing, their armor reconfiguring. In moments, the Zarantine weapons were all but useless, the machines shrugging off the blows like raindrops. It was like watching a tidal wave crashing against a sand castle. The Zarantine lines crumpled, their ships torn asunder, their soldiers ripped limb from limb. Alex watched in horror as a Kelvaki machine plunged its claws into a Zarantine trooper, the alien screams drowned out by the screeching of metal on bone. But amidst the chaos, Alex saw something, a pattern, a rhythm to the Kelvaki's adaptations, and in that rhythm, a vulnerability. "There!" he shouted over the din of battle. "When they adapt, they drop their shields for a split second. If we hit them hard enough, fast enough with multiple attack vectors, we could overwhelm them before they have a chance to fully reconfigure," Gupta finished, her eyes wide. "A two-pronged assault," Johnson mused. "Energy weapons and good old-fashioned ballistics. 1-2 punch from hell." Vega looked skeptical, her tendrils twisting. The thought of relying on something as primitive as projectile weapons clearly galled the proud Zarantine, but she had no better ideas. "Very well, human, we will try your plan. Pray it works, for all our sakes." What followed was a marathon of desperate innovation and training. Gupta worked around the clock, MacGyvering Zarantine tech to interface with human firearms. Johnson took a crash course in energy weapons before drilling the Zarantine troops in the use of chemical propellant firearms, the bewildered aliens struggling to adapt to the crude human technology. Meanwhile, Reeves took to the skies in a Zarantine fighter, risking life and limb to conduct recon on Kelvaki positions and identify priority targets for their coordinated strike. But even as they raced against the clock, tension simmered. Zoran made his opposition to the human alliance loud and clear, his every word dripping with disdain. "The great Zarantine Imperium, reduced to relying on apes with pop guns," he sneered. "We should be studying their primitive weaponry, not entrusting our fate to it." Worse, Alex started to hear whispers from the Zarantine soldiers under his command. Rumors that the humans were using the crisis as a smokescreen to steal Zarantine military secrets. That Alex was planning to betray them the moment the Kelvaki were dealt with. He could feel their distrustful stares boring into his back, could sense their fingers twitching over their weapons. One wrong move, one misinterpreted order, and the powder keg would blow. But Alex tamped down on his frustration. They couldn't afford any cracks in the alliance, not now, not with the fate of galaxies hanging in the balance. He had to hold this fragile coalition together through sheer force of will. Because he knew Zoran was wrong. The human weapons, as crude as they seemed, could be the key to everything. The Kelvaki would never see them coming. For so long, the Zarantine had fought with rigid, predictable strategies, their vaunted technology turned against them. But humans were chaos incarnate. They were the monkey wrench in the gears, the spanner in the works. They didn't think in terms of elegant algorithms or optimized solutions. They fought dirty. They fought desperate, and they fought to win. And it was that unpredictability, that knack for last-minute improvisation, that would give them the edge they needed. Alex could feel it in his bones. The Kelvaki were expecting the Zarantine. They were expecting drones and energy beams and all the other tricks the squid heads had already tried. They weren't expecting a band of primates with assault rifles and attitude problems. They weren't expecting sheer, stubborn, bloody-knuckled humanity. And that was exactly what Alex was going to give them. He watched the readouts, his eyes hardened. The Kelvaki were massing for another offensive, a final push to crush the Zarantine resistance once and for all. In a matter of hours, they'd be within striking distance. It was now or never, the do-or-die moment, the crux of fate upon which galaxies would turn. Alex turned to Vega, meeting her unblinking gaze. No more doubts, no more dissension. It was time to roll the dice. "Give the order," he said. "We attack at dawn." The attack began with a flash of blinding light. Lieutenant Reeves led the charge, his Zarantine fighter screaming through the void. Energy beams lanced out, striking the Kelvaki fleet. "First wave away," Reeves called over the comms. "Shields holding steady." Alex watched from the bridge of his command ship, muscles tense. "Come on, you bastards, take the bait." The Kelvaki response was swift. Their shields shimmered, adapting to the energy assault. For a heartbeat, their defenses flickered. "Now!" Alex roared. Sergeant Johnson's voice crackled through the speakers. "Railguns hot, firing." A hail of projectiles erupted from the human ships. They tore through space, punching through the momentarily vulnerable Kelvaki vessels. Explosions bloomed in the darkness. "Multiple targets hit," Gupta reported, her fingers flying over her console. Kelvaki ships breaking formation. But the reprieve was short-lived. The machines regrouped with terrifying speed, their ships splitting into smaller units. Energy beams and physical projectiles alike bounced harmlessly off their reconfigured defenses. "Shit," Alex muttered. "They're learning." The bridge rocked as a Kelvaki blast struck home. Alarms blared. "A hull breach on decks 3 through 5, Gupta shouted. "We're venting atmosphere." "All hands, brace for impact," Alex ordered. He turned to his helmsman. "Get us planetside, now." The ship shuddered as it entered the moon's thin atmosphere. Through the view screen, Alex watched Zoran's ships peel away, abandoning them to the relentless Kelvaki assault. They hit the ground hard, skidding across the lunar surface. As the dust settled, Alex saw Kelvaki ground troops advancing. "Out of the frying pan," Johnson growled, hefting his rifle. A Zarantine ship screamed overhead, touching down nearby. Vega emerged, her tendrils writhing in agitation. "Warren," she called, "we must leave. Zoran has turned against us. He claims you sabotaged the attack." "That slimy son of a—" Alex's curse was cut short as a Kelvaki energy blast struck nearby, showering them with lunar dust. "We're out of options," Gupta said. "We can't fight a war on two fronts." Alex's mind raced. His eyes fell on the hulking silhouettes of mining equipment in the distance. "Maybe we don't have to. Gupta, how fast can you rig an EMP?" Understanding dawned in the engineer's eyes. "Fast enough, but we'll need to hold them off." "Done," Johnson said, checking his weapon. "Just point us where to shoot." What followed was a desperate scramble. Alex and Johnson led a rearguard action, their weapons chattering in the airless void. Kelvaki fell, only for two more to take their place. In the distance, Gupta worked feverishly, jury-rigging the mining equipment into a makeshift EMP device. "Any time now, Doc," Johnson shouted, his ammo running low. "Almost," Gupta called back. 3, 2, 1. A wave of invisible force rippled outward. The advancing Kelvaki froze mid-step, their systems overloaded. "Move," Alex ordered. They sprinted for Vega's ship, the Kelvaki already beginning to twitch back to life behind them. As the hatch sealed shut, Alex caught a final glimpse of the lunar surface. Kelvaki troops surged forward, mere seconds too late. The ship rocketed into space, leaving the moon and their human Zarantine alliance behind. The ship shuddered as it emerged from the jump, systems flickering back to life. Alex gripped the edge of the command console, his knuckles tightening. "Status report!" he barked. Gupta's fingers flew across her terminal. "Jump successful. We've cleared Kelvaki-controlled space. No pursuit detected." Alex allowed himself a small sigh of relief, but the tension in his shoulders remained. They weren't out of danger yet. "Any sign of that distress signal?" he asked. Johnson, hunched over the comms array, grunted an affirmative. "Faint but steady. Triangulating now." Alex turned to Vega, her alien features unreadable. "This is our best shot. If your people are hunting us, a human colony is the last place they'll look." Vega's tendrils writhed, a sign Alex had come to recognize as agitation. "I concur, though I fear how your kin will react to my presence." "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it," Alex said grimly. Hours ticked by as they followed the signal's trail. The planet that finally filled their view screen was a far cry from the lush worlds humanity once called home. Vast stretches of wind-swept desert dominated the surface, punctuated by sparse patches of scrubland. "There," Reeves called out, pointing to a cluster of structures barely visible against the barren landscape. "Looks like our welcoming committee." A dozen ramshackle fighters rose to meet them, weapons primed. Alex opened a channel. "Unidentified vessel, this is Admiral Susan Clark of the Human Resistance. State your business or be fired upon." Alex leaned into the comm. "Admiral Clark, this is Captain Alex Warren of Earth. We received your distress call. We're here to help." A tense silence followed. Then, "Captain Warren, you have an alien life form aboard your vessel. Explain yourself." Alex glanced at Vega. "It's a long story, Admiral. One best told face to face. I give you my word, we mean you no harm." Another pause. Alex held his breath. "Very well, Captain. You have permission to land, but I warn you, any hostile action will be met with lethal force." The landing zone was ringed by colonists, brandishing an assortment of cobbled-together weapons. As Alex's team disembarked, he could feel the distrust radiating from the crowd. It only intensified when Vega emerged, her alien form causing a ripple of shock and fear. Admiral Clark strode forward, her weathered face etched with suspicion. "Start talking, Warren, and make it good." Alex laid it all out: the Kelvaki threat, the fragile alliance with the Zarantine, Zoran's betrayal. As he spoke, he saw Clark's expression shift from skepticism to outrage. "Those squid-headed bastards," she spat. "We've been sending distress calls for years as this rock grew more uninhabitable. They ignored every one. And now they've made an enemy of the only allies who might have saved them," Vega added, her voice tinged with bitterness. Clark's eyes narrowed. "Why should we trust you? How do we know this isn't some Zarantine trick?" "Because we need each other," Alex said firmly. "Humanity, Zarantine. None of that matters if the Kelvaki win. Help us stop them, and I swear we'll make the Zarantine answer for abandoning you." Clark was silent for a long moment, weighing his words. Finally, she nodded. "All right, Warren, you've got our support. God knows we don't have much, but what we have is yours." What followed was a frenzy of activity. The colonists' meager fleet, a hodgepodge of outdated human designs, was hauled out for retrofitting. Gupta worked tirelessly, her eyes gleaming as she melded human ingenuity with Zarantine tech. "It's like nothing I've ever seen," she breathed, poring over schematics of Vega's ship. "The way their systems interface, it's beautiful." Johnson, meanwhile, drilled the colonist militia. "You call that a firing line?" he bellowed. "My grandma could outshoot the lot of you." Days bled into weeks as they prepared. Alex found Clark in the command center, poring over star charts. "We've identified several systems still loyal to Vega," she said without preamble. "Surgical strikes here, here, and here should secure us a foothold." Alex nodded. "And then we push for Zara Prime." Clark's eyes hardened. Zoran won't know what hit him. The first wave of attacks caught the Zarantine forces completely off guard. Gupta's hybrid tech allowed them to slip past defense grids undetected, while the raw fury of the human assault teams overwhelmed the complacent Zarantine troops. System after system fell, each victory bringing them closer to Zara Prime. But as they approached the Zarantine homeworld, the resistance stiffened. "Zoran's dug in deep," Reeves reported, his face grim. "Planet's locked down tight." Alex squared his shoulders. "Then we go in hard and fast, all or nothing." The assault on Zara Prime was chaos incarnate. Swarms of fighters clashed in the skies while ground forces fought street by street through the sprawling capital. Alex led the charge on Zoran's command center, blaster fire sizzling past his head. They fought their way through waves of guards, Alex's fury growing with each step. Finally, they breached the inner sanctum, and there he was, Zoran, the architect of so much suffering, sneering down at them from his command throne. "So the human and his pet Zarantine have come to play hero," Zoran's voice dripped with contempt. "It's over, Zoran," Alex snarled. "Surrender and maybe we won't space you out an airlock." Zoran laughed, a harsh, grating sound. You fool. Don't you see? Everything I've done has been to save our people. The Kelvaki are an existential threat. If a few billion lives must be sacrificed to ensure our survival, so be it. You're insane, Vega hissed. Our alliance with the humans is our only hope. Weakness, Zoran roared. Humans are a primitive species. Their involvement has only... His words were cut off by a deafening explosion. The room shook, debris raining down. Sir, Johnson's voice crackled over the comm. Kelvaki ships just breached the defensive line. They're everywhere. Alex watched the color drain from Zoran's face as the truth sank in. The Zarantine leader slumped in his chair, defeat written in every line of his body. Perhaps, Zoran said quietly, I have made a grave miscalculation. In that moment, as Kelvaki forces swarmed the planet, the bitterest of enemies found common ground. Zoran and Vega's loyalists joined forces with Alex's team, a desperate alliance born of necessity. Gupta's voice cut through the chaos. I've done it, she cried, her eyes wild with excitement. A disruptor that can purge their systems. We can beat them. As one human and Zarantine turned to face the Kelvaki onslaught, Alex raised his weapon, a grim smile on his face. Let's show these toasters what organics can do. The United Armada launched its counteroffensive, Gupta's disruptors wreaking havoc on the Kelvaki fleet. For the first time, the cyborgs found themselves on the back foot, unable to adapt fast enough to the relentless assault. Alex led the vanguard, his ship weaving through the chaos of battle. Victory was within reach. They could do this. They could win. And then he saw it. A massive Kelvaki vessel unlike anything they'd encountered before. It moved with terrifying purpose, shrugging off their attacks like they were nothing. Alex's blood ran cold as he realized the truth. The Kelvaki had been holding back, and now they were about to unveil their true might. The battle raged across Zara Prime's orbit, a chaotic dance of destruction and desperate hope. Alex's fingers flew across the tactical display, orchestrating the joint human-Zarantine assault. Dr. Gupta's disruptors lit up the void, cascading waves of energy that left Kelvaki ships drifting, their systems fried. It's working, Reeves shouted, his voice thick with disbelief. We're actually pushing them back. Alex allowed himself a moment of cautious optimism. The Kelvaki formations were breaking, their usual synchronicity shattered by the relentless barrage. His triumph was short-lived. Sir! A sensor officer's panicked voice cut through the bridge. Massive energy spike detected in the dark matter halo! Alex's blood ran cold as the readings flooded his screen. What the hell is that? The answer emerged from the swirling chaos of the halo, a structure so vast it defied comprehension. Angular and alien, it dwarfed even the largest Kelvaki vessels. Evasive maneuvers, Alex roared, but it was too late. Beams of searing energy lanced out from the megastructure, carving through Allied ships without effort. The bridge rocked violently as a nearby cruiser disintegrated. We can't stop it, Vega's voice was thick with dread. Our weapons have no effect. Alex watched in horror as the behemoth approached Zara Prime, shrugging off their most potent attacks. Vega's tendrils writhed in agitation as he processed data from his science team. Warren. Vega's multifaceted eyes locked onto Alex. If that thing reaches its target coordinates, it will render our world sterile. Nothing will survive. Alex's mind raced, searching for options where none existed. He locked eyes with Johnson, seeing the same grim understanding reflected there. We go in, Alex said, his voice low and steady. A small team, quick and quiet. It's our only shot. Minutes later, Alex led a strike force towards the megastructure's hull. Johnson and Reeves flanked him, weapons at the ready. Dr. Gupta, her arm in a makeshift sling, clutched a case of disruptor tech. Vega brought up the rear, his alien senses probing for weaknesses. They breached the outer hull, finding themselves in corridors that seemed to stretch into infinity. Automated defenses sprang to life, a gauntlet of death that thinned their numbers with brutal efficiency. "Keep moving!" Alex shouted as another team member fell. "We have to reach the central chamber!" They fought their way deeper, each step bought with blood and sacrifice. Finally, they reached the Nexus, a cavernous space dominated by pulsing energy conduits. "Gupta, now!" Alex ordered. The scientist's fingers flew across her equipment, interfacing with the alien systems. Sweat beaded on her brow as she raced against time. A violent surge of energy arced through the chamber. Gupta screamed, her body convulsing as the raw power coursed through her. "No!" Alex caught her as she fell, her eyes already glazing over. The chamber thrummed ominously, the biosphere obliteration sequence initiating. With no other choice, Alex armed his last nuclear warhead. "Everyone out!" he roared. "Move!" They ran, the corridors blurring around them. Behind them, the nuke detonated, the megastructure shuddering as systems failed in a cascading wave of destruction. Their shuttle barely cleared the blast radius as the behemoth went dark, drifting lifelessly in space. No one cheered. The cost had been too high. Days later, Alex stood before a sea of pyres on Zara Prime's ravaged surface. The fires consumed the bodies of the fallen, human, Zarantine, and the charred remains of Kelvaki alike. Dr. Gupta's pyre burned brightest of all. Vega's tendrils drooped in a gesture of mourning. "We've bought time," he said softly. "But at what price?" Alex said nothing, his eyes fixed on the horizon where the crippled megastructure loomed. He knew with cold certainty that their reprieve was temporary. The Kelvaki would return, relentless and unopposable. In that moment, Alex made the hardest decision of his life. "Begin the ex nihilitum protocol," he ordered, his voice devoid of emotion. Alarms blared as Zara Prime's core reactor went critical. The planet's crust buckled and cracked, magma boiling to the surface. "All ships, emergency warp!" Alex's voice echoed across every comm channel. "Get clear of the system now!" As his ship prepared to jump, Alex saw Vega step away from the shuttle, his alien eyes fixed on the world of his birth. "Vega!" Alex shouted. "What are you doing?" "Someone must bear witness," Vega replied, his voice serene. "Go, my friend. Your fight is not over." The warp drive engaged, ripping them away from the inferno. Through the view screen, Alex watched Zara Prime vanish in a blinding flash, taking billions of lives with it. As they emerged from warp, the harsh reality settled over Alex like a shroud. So many dead, so much lost, and for what? A temporary victory against an implacable foe. He turned away from the viewport, unable to watch as the Kelvaki megastructure flickered back to life, undeterred by the apocalypse they had unleashed. The war, Alex knew with sickening certainty, was a long way to go.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.